All right, another big contract just happens as Tua became the third highest paid player in NFL history just earlier today, and now we have a new highest paid player in NFL history in terms of per year salary, as Jordan Love is going to be making $55 million a year per for the next 4 years. Actually, it's not the next 4 years. This year, he is still working on, I believe it's around a $20 million deal, and then it's going to be going up to the larger deal. Of course, this is in part because the Packers made the decision to go out and draft him when they still had Rodgers, letting him sit for a few years. This one of the negatives of doing that is you don't get a full rookie deal the way you would have had you played him right away. Now, of course, the positive is Jordan Love as good as he's been so far? If they didn't let him sit, it's impossible to know for sure, but that's one of the drawbacks of this decision, right? It's interesting. I talked earlier about how I didn't love the Tua contract. I do think for the Jordan Love one, again, it's interesting. So first, I have to explain, I feel like the quarterback contract conversation always gets a little bit muddled. So just to explain why sometimes I don't love certain contracts is, at the end of the day, this is what quarterbacks get now. And if the Packers did not pay Love $55 million, somebody was going to. In fact, he might have even made more money had he hit the open market. That's just the way these contracts work. But just because that's how they work doesn't mean it's always a good idea, right? And essentially the argument is, if you're going to try and keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs, who, Patrick Mahomes is getting $45 million a year right now, then the way you have to beat them is either by having a quarterback who can hang with him, like we've seen Joe Burrow do, like we've seen Josh Allen nearly do a couple of times, right? Like we saw Tom Brady do, or you can beat them by the 49ers strategy. They haven't beaten him yet, but Purdy only getting $1 million a year, you can now spend $44 million to, help the roster out and try and compete with the Chiefs. And, that was a coin flip game, that Super Bowl, right? So to me, those are usually the two best ways that you can be the best team in football. For Jordan Love, he's very much not a finished product at this point. There is a question mark as to just how good he is. So, well, usually I'm pretty against these contracts. Like, again, just using the Tua contract because it came earlier today. Usually I'm pretty against these contracts in part because it's like, okay, if you know this guy isn't going to be a superstar, then paying him superstar money basically means you're going to be a consistent playoff team, but maybe not a consistent Super Bowl team. For someone like Jordan Love, we don't know where he's going to be. And because of that, I think I would have maybe rather just taken the risk and given it another year. You still have the threat of a franchise tag. So because of that, it's not like he can just walk when he hits free agency. You can still make sure you give him the long-term deal. So because of that, I personally think that that's how I would have handled it personally. But at the same time, I do think this is maybe a more understandable contract than just giving it to someone who would kind of know who they are. But again, there is absolutely a way this backfires. Absolutely, right? I mean, Jordan Love essentially put together, I thought, a great stretch toward the end of the season. It was a great stretch, but it is a very small sample size. He's basically been a player for a year, been a pro for a year. It's a small sample size that we're working on. So if it turns out that he is an inconsistent player who just happened to, put some of his best games in a row towards the end of the season, and he's kind of just an all right player, that could be this could be a contract that backfires. We do have some details actually about the contract, because again, people love to say all that matters is the guaranteed money. That's not really how that works, because again, guaranteed money only matters if you get rid of the player. If you keep the player, then the regular contract matters. So it looks like his it's guaranteed money is $155 million. So it's a contract they could get out of after 3 years is what it looks like. Again, the details always are a bit more complex than that. Sometimes the guaranteed monies are front-loaded, sometimes they're back-loaded, so you never know for sure. But seems like it's a kind of contract you could get out of at a certain point, but probably not anytime soon. They are making a big bet on Jordan Love. there really are, three options. I mean, it could backfire. It could also hit. He could hit that elite tier, or he could end up staying kind of where he's at now, which is a bit of an inconsistent player who still shows some high highs. So it's a gamble. It's certainly a gamble. I think this is one of the more understandable big quarterback contracts, but there is a chance this backfires as well. I'm sure if you're a Packers fan, you're excited, just like, every team is excited when they re-sign their quarterback. And of course, Jordan Love was going to at least stay here for another year. I just think maybe I would have given it another year, given the fact that it is a small sample size, even if that means you have to pay him more if he hits the following off season. Honestly, it probably won't be that much more if we're just being honest. So that's how I would have done it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.